So they end up saying a bunch of big, stupid things. Even before I saw them, I said, you know what kind of folks these are? These are like the goobers. These are the guys who are just not very bright, not idiots, but not very bright. They probably have some good desire, but what's really happening is that you have people who are not actually going to carry out anything. They not only are their body or their egos writing checks their body can't cash, their egos are writing checks their bodies would not cash. And so they end up saying a bunch of big, stupid things because they don't have much confidence otherwise, and or much intelligence otherwise. They talk big, and now they're going to go to jail for a very long time for doing so. I might be wrong. Maybe some of them, maybe all of them, maybe one of them, maybe none of them, I don't know, are violent, and they actually wanted to kidnap or abduct this shrew and this harridan, and then have a mock trial and have it bring forward the first 10 amendments, and then, I don't know, maybe sign their names to it, and then the Holy Ghost will come up out of it, who knows, and then execute somebody. I mean, my guess is that some of these people still play with toys. It might be little action figures, it might be some other form of toy, but they're playing with toys and they're talking big. And now for their big talk, they're going to end up going to jail. And then they had them all. They went into some guy's like cellar, under a floorboard, under a carpet, and they took everybody's phones and demonstrating, for secrecy, demonstrating that they are really not, for their sake, the brightest bulbs in the drawer, as though with the technology that they have today, I mean, for God's sakes, back in like the 70s and the 60s, they had wires that they could put on people that, you have to physically frisk them to find. Could you imagine the technology they have now? And so somebody was obviously wearing some sort of a wire for the whole private conversation. These are, in my guess, these were maybe slow people that, and maybe bad, but probably not, probably just slow and juvenile and talked big. We've all met these people, and they got sucked into these ideas that are being espoused by a fat Jabba the Hutt slob that pisses himself and worships the genitals of another race of people, who is said to have an incalculable genius that it makes no sense, because he's incalculably intelligent, even though he's accomplished nothing, zero, no predictions come true. Everything he has said has been false. Everything that he said would be a fact has been wrong. And so they end up putting their faith in somebody because they're not necessarily the brightest bulbs in the drawer. And they're being told that this guy just can't be questioned. He's so smart. And then he's telling them, you have to have a magic document. I'm writing a special magic document over top of my cauldron in my castle somewhere. And while I work on this, what you plebes need to do then is you just need to prepare, because there'll be an invisible army that'll come forward once I release my magic document onto the world. And we will all make sure you will all handle it with your fingerprints, and you will all sign your names on it, and you will make them legible as well. And if you could just add your social security number, because we got to make sure we have this for the FBI. I mean, just ignore the last part of what he just said. And then these poor souls, they hear that, they begin talking about documents, they begin talking about civil war, they begin talking about secession, they begin talking about trials, they begin talking about, and then they can get easily sucked in. Who did they get sucked in by? Do you think that this was just an accident? Do you really want to believe that the feds just stumbled upon this and, oh, by golly, there's this cell being, no, that's not how it works. You know very well who gets these things started, you know very well how it rolls, and you know very well who ends up going to jail, and then these others, they just disappear into what will happen to this guy at the center of it, if indeed that this story is true. Find out from CNN. What will happen to him? He's just going to disappear into the woodwork, and then wonder how nothing happened to him. But you have all of the hallmarks of Doolittle and all of the hallmarks of this other helmet wearing imbecile who is fine, loves to protect his identity, but once your name on that document, once your name, he wants your identity known, but he's going to hide behind a helmet saying on the video, where's that thing? I've got a golly gee, I've got to sign it too. Guaranteed his name never made it onto it, or whatever name he was using, because I'm sure it doesn't matter to his handlers. And then you find out, well, the FBI visited him, didn't they? The red helmeted fool, the FBI. Well, does that sound to you folks at all like a tactic being employed to recover an asset that was very successful to them? Would the FBI visit an asset? And what kind of people would fall for that? A lot of midwits, a lot of midget wits would easily fall for the John Mark can't make any videos now because the FBI visited him. And maybe he'll be back next year and he'll start making videos again. Folks, pull your head out of your asses. It is the recovery of a very successful asset. That kind of nonsense is only going to work on very stupid people. Well, if he was working for the FBI, they wouldn't go visit him, would they? Sure. And we have some oceanfront property available for you in Arizona. Lord Hendrickson, can we get an F in the chat for another Trump supporter executed by the anti-whites? We can indeed. Let's get an F for another Trump supporter shot dead by an anti-white. Right now saying that this person, I think in the story, claiming that this person was some sort of security guard when he had none of the garb on. And here we have another case, don't we, where we had, what was it, in Portland, where we had somebody who was a Patriot Prayer, and so they're not anti-white, and definitely doesn't mean that they're white positive, spray mace at an anti-white, spraying bullets back at them. And here you have it again in Denver. Now, whether this guy is a MLB, and that's, of course, reverse, we're not talking about baseball supporter, or whether he is an anti-white who calls himself Antifa, or whatever it might be, it's clear that this individual was anti-white. Having it out with some sort of Trump supporter, whatever that person thinks of himself or thought of himself, he's dead now because he was shot in the face by this anti-white piece of filth. So keep this in mind, ladies and gentlemen. This is why we don't go out to these things. Law enforcement is going to be siding, not because it's their druthers, but because it's their orders are going to be siding with the anti-whites who are in charge of them, and they're therefore going to be siding with the anti-whites in the streets. We don't go out to these things. Nothing good will come of it. When the time comes for us to do things in public, other than like the leafleting and the things we're doing now, putting up billboards on highways, other than the things we're doing now, we will let you all know. Right now, it is very dangerous to get out there. You can see what happens, and guaranteed this is not the only 2 times this has happened. We had the mother shot dead, and we won't go into that because we know people are getting censored by the anti-whites for that. But the mother shot dead for arguing with one of these anti-whites representing one of these groups. This is happening all over the United States, and it's even happening elsewhere around the world across Western civilization. Stay away from these scenarios. You think you're going to pull out your mace to maybe protect yourself from not having your head caved in by a bunch of anti-white dirtbags, and you're going to pull out mace to protect yourself. Well, ladies and gentlemen, they're pulling out firearms and they're shooting, and we'll see. Does it really matter whether or not this guy goes to jail and whether or not the other one ended up dying in a shootout with the police because he knew when he got to jail he was not going to be able to survive in jail? The Nazi community or whatever they are in jail, they wouldn't take him in and protect him. The non-white gangs in jail, they wouldn't say, well, you're an okay guy because you stood. No, they would just devour him alive as well. So he had it out and got. Does it really matter if they go to jail or end up dead in a shootout? If you've died or if your family member or friend has died? No. One of their lives, it's not a good trade. It's not a value for value trade with one of these degenerate dirtbags. one of these POSs. And rest assured that the anti-white oligarchs that are paying for all of this, they don't care how many of those dirtbags, malefactors, the lowest, the dregs of society, they don't care how many of them die or go to jail in the process of carrying out their anti-white agenda. Know where and how to meet the opposition. And we only will do it in ways that we will have victory almost guaranteed from the first point that we move. This is how you engage in conflict. You do not go out there setting yourself up for situations that you are positioned to lose or the thinnest chance of success. So yeah, thank you for that, Lord Hendrickson. Yes, an F for another person shot dead in the face. What about his family members? Why don't we all know his name? Why don't we see his wife crying, his mother crying, his children now? Why aren't we hearing stories from the media? Why in the hell do we not have these media empires having their licenses revoked by the federal government of the United States? You know damn well and good that if this were reversed and some anti-white malefactor had to save himself or herself, pulled out mace and was spraying mace and retreating, and they were shot in the face, the anti-white media would talk from dawn till dusk and all through the night to every one of their family members, and they would be saying, wow, this person was on the verge of, yes, of course, they were in and out of prison, but they were on the verge of curing cancer. And it would just go on and on, the stories about how many lives are going to be ruined by this one life being lost. And it might be true. I don't know. We're just theorizing here. In any particular case, it might be true. But there is no deity that comes down and says to the government of a country, you have to allow these anti-white oligarchs who dominate the media, you must allow them to set the tone for the narrative, this fiction. You must permit them to tell the population what is true and what is not true. There is no deity doing this. It is long since past time that the licenses start disappearing and these people stop being able to preach lies, to these anti-white lies to the population. I guarantee you, it wouldn't have to take many media companies having their licenses revoked for the other ones to start saying, whoa, we better tighten this up a little bit. Nobody's going to hear from this guy's endless stories about his wife. Nobody's going to be hearing. And you know, right now, folks, what you're not thinking about, I'm going to bring you in on it. They're writing scripts for television movies right now, for silver screen movies, writing scripts for television into the television shows, writing books right now. It's going everywhere into educational booklets and scenarios, even for math problems in schools, from your little children all the way up through university. All of these anti-white lies about everything taking place right now. Oh, you will see it unfold in the future. But I guarantee you, they are busily scribbling their screed from one document to another to weave into your entertainment, because even though their Hollywood isn't history, they know the masses, they keep pushing it, the masses will adopt it as history. So again, we have to ask the question, there is no deity telling the government of the United States, you must allow these people to lie to your population. Why do these elected officials continue to play by the rules and the history and the jargon of the anti-whites? Long since past time to revoke these things. And in the name, why not find this guy's children, and in the name of all of their children, you revoke the license from ABC for the lies. And then see how the others shudder when they see you're not messing around anymore. God, what I would not give right now for the likes of some of our earlier leaders, true statesmen. Mestizo is with us. Hail, Jason and Tina, he writes. Many blessings to the people of Virginia and Finland. White well-being worldwide. Thank you so much for that, Mestizo. And let me see. let me move through the chat, see what you all had to say, see if you had to say anything about all that I said coming true when it came to Doolittle and John Mark. Well, there I just saw here Westphal saying Jason wasn't fooled like so many others. I've seen it too many times. I use reason, logic, and evidence. Thank you so very much for pointing that out. And what drives me is the good of our people, and as individuals first, and then as a community, and as a community that rounds back onto the individuals. I don't want any of our people going to jail because they get caught up in something, especially those out there who are the most challenged when it comes to their intelligence. Those are vulnerable members. We need to protect them. We need to tell them when they're being lied to. We need to tell them when the person they're talking to glows. The person they're listening to is glowing. Guaranteed, all these people were talking over top of the most the most highly encrypted apps possible. The problem was they were just talking to the federal agents on those apps. You're not going to be able to get away from that. And it doesn't make sense. There is not going to be a civil war. There is not going to be a civil war. I will debate. It only will take 2 minutes. I will argue with anybody for 2 minutes. You find out there who thinks that there's going to be a civil war, and I will show, just as I showed Kurt Doolittle and John Mark to be idiots and liars when it came to this, I will show anybody else how they are idiot and a liar if they think that there could be a civil war. No possibility. There isn't an oppositional poll. There's no possibility. Period. There's no possibility of secession. Don't talk about these things. Don't think about it. It's a waste of time. The only thing you're going to do, the only thing it's going to be effective at is getting federal agents to look at you and to begin worrying about you and to begin thinking about how do we rope this person into some sort of crime so that we can jail them, so that we can get them off the streets and not have to worry about them committing some sort of crime, some sort of atrocity against the innocent people. That's all it's going to do. Talk about helping people to go free. Talk about helping people to better their lives. Build communities, build families. Let's get this practice out to as many people as we possibly can before the anti-whites who call themselves Democrats actually make this illegal. Bad Goy's running wild, says Andrew Jackson. Well, that would be a hell of a leader right now that we could use, wouldn't it? Sakis says, I linked the YouTube video as well as the Red Ice video. It was on the question widget. All right, thank you, brother. I'll take a look at that. Looks like we got some people laughing. I don't know what that was about, but I'm glad we did. I see a lot of people mentioning Andrew Jackson. Yeah, that's the kind of leader we need. Or somebody to take up his behavior. A true statesman. Irish Ice says, I'm on chapter 12 of Crucible. It's definitely an enjoyable and exciting read. I'm savoring it. Thank you so much for that, brother. I appreciate that testimony.